What's up guys, welcome to another video. I'm very excited to talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 and the beta. We are in beta right now. If you are playing this game, here are the best settings I'm gonna recommend. I'm gonna also show you my personal settings that I'm using right now, and of course I played the game with DualSense Edge and the TMR module I'm using from Behavior, the damping one. But I'm gonna share everything about it and what are the settings I personally use, what are the best settings based on our previous findings, because we didn't test the game fully yet, but I'm gonna share my first impressions. The gameplay is very smooth. I like that. Of course there are some server problems. I ran into a game that the game was laggy and it would stuck sometimes, but that happened only in one match so far that I played the game, so it wasn't a big problem. And I'm playing mostly in Europe servers and I have a ping of around 60 milliseconds, so there's not a big problem if the game server doesn't have any problems. And in this video we're going to talk about the best settings that you can use for your PS5 Pro and PS5, specifically for controllers, because I'm using a controller, and specifically mostly for DualSense Edge in some parts, and if you have a TMR module in your controller, because they tend to feel a little different than the ALLM and original module. But this video is relatable for all other controllers as well, so let's get into it. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the console settings. We go to screen and video. Here we have resolution. I suggest playing on 4K if your TV or monitor supports it. There is no point in playing on lower resolution. Of course, we haven't tested it completely yet, but based on how things work in Call of Duty and based on even the latest update we've tested in Black Ops 7, playing on 4K, and then if your monitor supports 1440p would be best. And of course, you have to have 120 Hz enabled, and the VRR is good in this game, especially if you are playing on a normal PS5, because the frame rates are not going to be stable. If you are on PS5 Pro, we are testing the FPS. So far it's very stable. You can turn off the VRR for a bit lower latency, but there might be some changes when the game releases, and also the VRR can introduce lower latency if you have frame drops. So at the moment, if you are on PS5, keep VRR on, but if you are on PS5 Pro, turn it off and see how things go. And you only need to turn it off in the console settings. You don't need to go over your monitor or TV settings. About enhanced PSSR image quality, we didn't find any disadvantage at the moment, but we're gonna test it on versus off in different resolutions, and we will share more info with you. For now, you can keep it on. There wasn't a specific problem with having it on if you are on PS5 Pro, because in 120 Hz mode I believe it's not going to be engaged. Then we have the ALLM. My monitor doesn't have this one, and it's because it doesn't have any processing. The picture is raw. If your TV supports it, just turn it on and it's going to automatically switch to game mode, which will reduce the picture delay. Video transfer rate, you can keep it on automatic, but there is a tip here I'm gonna tell you. If you turn off deep color output, it's gonna reduce the delay by up to 3 milliseconds on average. So you can see when I turn it off, it blinks and then we get the picture again. It's not gonna look perfect. It's going the gradients are going to look a little bit different, but if it is something worth it for you, you can just turn it off. Otherwise, if you don't care about a few milliseconds, you can keep it on automatic and you will get a better picture quality. Of course, this is in case your TV or monitor supports HDMI 2.1 bandwidth. Otherwise, it will be automatically off when you are playing on 4K and 120 Hz. Alright. The HDR, I suggest keeping it off at the moment. If we go to the controller settings, whether you have a normal DualSense or DualSense Edge, I would highly suggest keeping vibration on in the controller settings. So you can either keep vibration intensity on weak, medium, or strong, but if you turn it completely off, it can affect the delay. I kept it on weak, and inside the game I set the value on 1, so I don't feel it anymore, but it's going to give me the advantage of lower latency. Trigger effect intensity doesn't matter, you can turn it off here or inside the game. And trigger DeadZone, if you are playing with L2 and R2 for shooting and you don't have a custom controller that have clicky triggers, it's best to set them to 0 to 1 so you can shoot faster when you have weapons that are not automatic. Of course, there is a way to reduce it even more. You can see there are 2 bars, 2 points here. There's still some pressure needed until we activate it, right? You see, it's not the fastest because it's based on percent, 0 to 1% of the push. However, here we have a range of 0 to 255. I made a video about it in the past. I'm gonna link it below. So if you have a DualSense Edge, you can change this to a true 0 to 1 and you will get even faster response in your L2 and R2. But 0 to 1 is also okay if you don't want to go through all of that and you just want to stick to the console settings. I do not change any stick sensitivity or dead zone inside the DualSense Edge settings because we almost have everything we want in the game, but later I will show you what are the things we can do. For example, boosting dynamic to be a little more dynamic or a little less dynamic, but better than how slope scale works, because slope scale is going to just soften that bump, but with custom curves we can actually change it the way we want and make a specific part to be boosted. For now, stay tuned. For the back buttons, I personally use them in DualSense Edge, and this one I have 2 only, and 2 are enough most of the time for me. I use jump and crouch. That's the thing I use the most, but you can use anything else you like. So some people wonder about communication method. Use USB cable. If you want the most stable connection, use USB cable, and here choose use USB cable, and you can connect your controller with a USB cable to the console, and then you will get the lowest latency. If you wonder which port I personally use, I use the back ports, but you can also use the front port. I just use the back port because it's cleaner and I have the cable going under my desk. This is a personal preference. As long as you have a good cable, even the USB 2 port will give you the same results. But if you are playing with a normal controller, you may wonder, if I use Bluetooth, I will have lower latency, Daniel, because I have a higher polling rate. That could be true and also false. Why could it be false? Because when you are using Bluetooth, if you have multiple devices around you, it can affect it and interfere with the connection, and sometimes the delay jumps. There is something called jitter. So let's say if on average you are getting 30 milliseconds on USB and with Bluetooth you can reach to 28 milliseconds, there's a thing that jitter increases with Bluetooth if you have many Bluetooth or Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz devices around you, and it can jump between 28 to, for example, 37. So that's why USB is recommended, but I was testing it with Bluetooth as well. I played all matches with Bluetooth. I didn't have any issues at the moment because I don't have many devices around me, but if you want the most stable connection, use USB cable. And DualSense Edge will be at an advantage compared to any DualSense controller or any controller that is using the DualSense board, because the response for both buttons and sticks are faster in DualSense Edge by a few milliseconds, and you can feel it in the game even with Bluetooth. It's not always about the USB connection, which is 1000 Hz, because we are not sure if PS5 uses that 1000 Hz, but using it compared to DualSense feels faster even on Bluetooth. Of course, we are using the damping TMR module from Behavior right now. The TMR and damping both have similar latency, and with these I have different in-game settings compared to what I used in the past with original modules. I'm gonna share with you. So you may wonder about game presets. Keep it on anything you like as long as you have the in-game setting set to 120 Hz enabled. Some people ask, what if we connect the controller with USB cable and then we turn off Bluetooth inside the console settings? That's gonna affect in some games. Of course, we haven't tested Modern Warfare 4 specifically yet, but in all other and older Call of Duties, it could have an affection of under 2 milliseconds on average. So if you do this, you may get under 2 milliseconds faster response, and if you want, just give it a shot. To a normal human it wouldn't be very noticeable, but that's what you can do. Next we have system. I have HDCP disabled here because I'm using a capture card and capturing my PS5 menu for you. If you disable it, you can't use Spotify or other apps, and you can't use other media apps. HDCP is effective in Call of Duty, and it can affect by a few milliseconds depending if you are playing 60 Hz mode or 120 Hz mode. When you play this game, I think you are less likely to listen to Spotify, or if you do, you can just use other devices to listen to music, and I suggest keeping HDCP off. For the storage, as I mentioned, it doesn't matter if you have it on console storage or M.2 SSD. It will work the same way so far, but you may have higher loading time, like 1 second higher loading time if you have a very slow M.2 SSD. Otherwise, it would be the same and you can install the game anywhere you like. Now let's talk about a few in-game settings. Alright. Let's go to controller settings. I personally use 1.60 and it works best for me with TMR modules from Behavior. These are a little bit sharper and more linear than typical joysticks, and I also have different tension now, a little bit different, so these are best for me. If you don't like it, you can change it. I don't use swap L1 R1 with L2 R2. I personally don't care about this when I have the lowest range for L2 and R2. Controller vibration, keep it on and keep the vibration intensity at least on a value of 1 based on our previous findings in most games. There were rare cases, but right now I think this is the best thing to start with, at least on a value of 1. If you tap on X once, it will switch to invertal of 1 instead of 5, so you can do just 1. I think they implanted it for us so we can fix this issue to not have vibration at all, but engage the controller to have more data and respond faster to our actions. So the next thing is trigger effects. I kept it off because it's gonna add some threshold for weapon, and then you have to push it more. If you use L1 and R1, it doesn't matter. If you have click triggers, it doesn't matter, but I would keep it off for normal DualSense or a DualSense Edge. DeadZone inputs, I personally use left stick min on 1, left stick max you can use lower to make the rotational aim assist happen faster. It's a little bit different than Modern Warfare 3. We're gonna cover them all in a new video. At the moment, I like a value of 1 to 6/6, but you can use anything you like. For right stick, these are very accurate. If you have a look at my joystick, there is 0% drift. You see? Almost 0% drift. These are calibrated. I calibrated them and they work very well. Alright. Even on 0%, I won't get any movement. That's one of the reasons I keep right stick min on 0 or 1. Currently, I'm using 1. It feels better to me. And max, I kept it at 99, but you can go 100. It also depends on how you calibrated your joystick. I have a stick error of around 8%. That's very important. I will show you how to do it in a few days in my main channel for TMR joysticks. But if you have a normal joystick, you are using a normal DualSense or a normal joystick on Edge, you can use 100%. There won't be any problem. L2 and R2 DeadZone, I kept it at 0, but if you don't use them for aiming and shooting, it doesn't matter. Or if you have clicky trigger. Next, we have aiming. I have these multipliers. I didn't touch them. Advanced settings. I'm personally using gradual. That starts lowering your sensitivity speed earlier before you actually get to the zoom slowly, and then it will reach to your ADS sensitivity. I'm not saying it's great for everyone. You can try both instant and gradual. I'm just using gradual because of these TMRs and it feels better to me at the moment. I may switch it later to instant. And aim response curve, this is where you might be interested. I'm using a standard. Again, because how the behavior works with TMR joysticks, they are a little bit sharper and I can just predict and play better with a standard, but you can try dynamic as well. I kept response curve slope scale at maximum so you can get that actual curve that we've tested many times. Of course, we're gonna test it again in this game to see if it looks the same as Modern Warfare 3. I think it does because it just feels the same. But we're gonna test if making it 0 is going to make them all look the same. Because in the past, if you made it 0, it would make all curves to look the same. And many people didn't like it. That's why we're gonna show you if it changed or if we can actually make it any way we like with custom curves. For example, boosting the bump for dynamic. I'm very interested about that one because we've had success there, and when you boost the dynamic curve, you gain a huge unfair advantage for that specific bump that helps you to get out of aim assist window quicker or control your recoil. Imagine if you had an option boost dynamic +1, +2, +3. That's what we are doing, so stay tuned. I'm very interested about it because it's gonna make a huge impact. Motion sensor, I'm not using motion sensor, and motion sensor function advanced settings. I know a lot of people talk about this FOV sensitivity scaling. We've tested it many times, and at the end of the day, with our latest methods, which we are using a 960 fps camera with an accuracy of 1.1 millisecond, we couldn't find any advantage in terms of input latency. So having it on or off doesn't matter. I haven't tested it in this game yet, but it didn't affect anything. You can still believe that it does something, but our testings and our data doesn't show anything. So maybe it does affect for you. Maybe you have a different PS5 and different Modern Warfare. Anyway, let's get into the graphic settings. 120 Hz refresh rate on. Echo mode preset, it only affects menus, and if you check the scoreboard or pause the menu in the game, so you can keep it off if you want, and there won't be any drops in the game. But if you keep it on efficiency, when you pause the game inside the game, it may actually affect the FPS in the background, and it wouldn't matter much in my opinion. If you want the highest performance, just keep it off. But for me, because I don't pause the game often and I don't care much, I left it on efficiency. The best would be off, and that's it. Gamma brightness, I typically go something between 47 to 49, and that's gonna give you the best contrast, but 50 is okay as well. The way it works has changed over the past few games, and now it actually affects exposure. For now, I kept it on 49. The good thing is now you can apply word motion blur and word depth of field only for cutscenes and story and the parts that are not important. I like that. But weapon motion blur, it's a personal preference. I kept it on for now. I want to see how things go. And also weapon depth of field, I may turn it off eventually, but both of these work differently compared to how it did in Modern Warfare 3. Fidelity effects CAS, I kept it off for now. I want to ensure how they actually work in the game and test the input latency and results. For now, if you're gonna think about how it did work up to latest update for Black Ops 7, you would keep it on and set it to a value of 50. That would work best typically, and it will give you lower latency. But on-demand texture streaming, if you have a slow internet or if you have jumps in your speed or ping, it's best to keep it at minimal. If you don't, we actually found optimized better based on our latest test before the Modern Warfare 4 becomes public, and optimized could be best. And now you may ask how much the texture cache size. Normally it wouldn't matter if you have enough space on your console and you have 20 to 30% free space on your console storage or on your M.2 SSD. Otherwise, you can go on small. And I didn't limit the downloads because I have unlimited connection. I also keep it on auto because I have so much space on my console, and having it on actually improves the latency and also the graphics of the game. For view, I'm using a field of view of 95. Personal preference because I'm using a 27-inch monitor that is not very close to me. You can use anything you like. If you wonder if FOV affects FPS, yes, it does. And if it does affect the latency, yes, it does directly. The more you render the game around you, the higher latency you will get typically. On both PS5 and PS5 Pro, it's more effective on normal PS5 and PS5 Slim. But I would say use something that you can see better, because that's very important. It doesn't matter in this case if you have a few milliseconds higher latency. Use what can help you to see better and find enemies better and shoot them. So I wouldn't care about this one. And these motions and movements, I just kept them on minimal. And inverted flashbang, I don't care much. I'm playing in a bright room now. It wouldn't blind me, but if you find it hurtful for your eyes, you can invert it to get a dark screen. For audio, I'm using headphones right now. I found it best with these Kiwi Ears Cadenza 2 IEMs. I reviewed them in my main channel, you can go check it out. I didn't change hearing compensation for now. I'm gonna test the game and then change it later. And reduce tinnitus sounds, I suggest keeping it on if you don't want to hurt your hearing. About the radio audio, for now I kept it off. I want to test and see how it works in this game. But based on the latest tests we've made in Black Ops 1 and 2, they helped with a louder footstep sound and better directional sound. So I'm gonna try it in this game and see how it works and then share more data with you. But because we are not sure about it yet, we haven't tested it in depth yet, we are just using stereo for now. Voice chat, if you don't talk to people and you don't care about it, if you turn off voice chat, you will get about 2 milliseconds lower latency based on our latest test again in Black Ops 7 and also Modern Warfare 4, but we're gonna test it again more and more when the game releases. There is also in account section, I don't know why the gameplay recording stops here. Maybe there's important stuff here, okay? Dismemberment and gore effects. When you shoot bodies on PS5 Pro, it doesn't matter, just keep it on because the frames don't drop like that. If you are on a normal PS5, turning this off actually helps with less frame drops, especially on bigger maps when someone is dead in the game and you are shooting them. Let's say even for 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames, it's gonna drop the frame a little bit and it's gonna affect the latency in those specific moments. So keep it off if you are on normal PS5. If you are on PS5 Pro, you can just keep it on. And we haven't tested the exact frame drops in Modern Warfare 4 yet, but stay tuned, we will do that as well. So if you wonder about my DualSense Edge, as I told you, it's TMR and I'm gonna connect it to the PC right now to show you what you can do for free with DualSense Tester and also what are the settings I'm personally using, and that can help you to get even better results. So first of all, let's go to Gamepad Tester. All right, here we can see it. Let's test circularity. I have around 7.7% on the left stick and a perfect 8%, not perfect, but almost 8%. You don't have to push it so much. Just imagine you are playing a normal game and rotating this. So around 8%, that's what I'm getting. And that's why I feel best in the game with this, because this is a good average error you want. You don't want the lowest average error. Those games are calibrated for sensitivity with this error in mind. That's why if you don't get this error, you may feel weird, especially if you've been playing with normal controllers for many years. So now let's add device. I'm gonna link this website below. You can connect your DualSense Edge, and now we can go here. All right, I'm gonna edit this profile, like this video, give it a like. All right, when you do this, if you go to PS5, you can no longer edit the profiles if you make some specific changes. We're not gonna make those changes, but if you do, you have to delete this profile or come here and edit it again. Oh, by the way, you can't change to 0 to 1 here. I'm gonna show you how you can do that. It's percentage again. Okay, 0 to 100%. There is a way to actually make it 0 to 1 value, not percentage. That's with DSX. So what I'm gonna show you here is with DualSense Tester, you can make a custom profile. And now we know how the normal curve looks in code for dynamic 1.0, right? We know how it almost looks. For example, if I take these two and boost this section a little bit, I will be boosting that bump in dynamic even more, and the rest of the curve stays the same. This is something I want you to play with and let me know what you think about it. You may want to reduce your sensitivity afterward, but this is something you can play with and have interesting results. If you want to keep the rest of the curve the same as it is in the game, you can use the third point and keep it at where it is. Okay, but then just boost that bump in dynamic like this, and now you will get a faster start. You may also want a little more dead zone for inner dead zone, but this is very interesting. You can save it and it will save in the controller and you can try it in the game. This is a very interesting thing you can do, but we're gonna talk about it later. I'm not using it right now. I'm just showing you how you can do it and experiment with it, but we're not gonna save it, okay? We're gonna discard it. But DSX is better for some specific settings that is not possible in DualSense Tester. So in DSX, the latest version, you can see 3.1.7, I go to controller section and then I can go to DualSense Edge internal profile system. Let's say we want to change this one. Okay, like this video, give it a like, and then I'm gonna edit. By the way, you can edit the curves here as well and see what happens. It's similar to DualSense Tester, but you're gonna drag them. Let's go for L2 and R2. What we can do here, it is also a percentage, but we have advanced mode, 0 to 255. That's what you can't get anywhere else. And now we set it to a true 0 to 1. We save it, we disconnect the controller. Okay, if you try to see it in the console, as I told you, you won't be able to do that. In the past, it used to show you 0 to 0 for the stick range, but now after the latest updates, it doesn't even load anything. Okay, you have to go to default profile. But what happens exactly, let me show you another example. What you normally have here, 0 to 1, you have to push it more, and you can also see it on the screen, like, okay, you have to push it this much until you reach to the first part and then it works. It's not much, but when you use the profile I created, I showed you, instead of 0 to 1, your input range would be 0 to 0 because it's under 1%. It can't show it, the console can't show it. That's all Sony did in the latest updates. But when you are in the game, you can try it and you will notice that with less push, you can shoot faster, and the range is even less than a clicky trigger. Trust me, when you start and the change, and you know, because of how it works, it's softer and it's easier to push. It takes less effort to actually do rapid fire for weapons that are not automatic. Give it a try and let me know what you think. That's almost it for this video, but we're gonna update you and I'm gonna share more results and the exact settings for both controllers on PS5 and PS5 Pro. So please subscribe, don't forget to hit the like, and also if you want early access and other videos before the game releases and everything else, you can subscribe to the main channel. And I'll see you in the next video.